Hello everybody, this is VG Time back again with another deck profile. Sometimes when you play the game for a long time, you start to get a little nostalgic, try to revisit things that worked for you in the past, and this is an example of that. So we're going to be playing the Surge Cell Leader. If anybody knew me for a long time, you know that I was a big fan of the original Cell Leader from set 2. And when Surge Cell came out, I wanted to make it work. It wasn't quite good when it first came out, but then it got support and became very good. Now I'm putting my own little twist on it, and let's get into it right after this short intro. All right, so let's get down to the leader. This guy right here has one of the best card selection abilities in the game. He is a top 5 searcher for any card, so that means you don't even have to show your opponent it. And then you add that card to your hand and discard a card. What that inherently means is that you don't gain extra cards from that ability alone, but what you do is you set it up with drop area synergies to take advantage of that skill. So you never really truly are losing cards because the card that you discarded has an effect that's relevant in the area that it's at. It has Awaken Surge, which you can do at any time, but you typically want to do it when you're at 4 or less life, unless it's going to cause you a huge issue. But you basically put a yellow and a green card underneath them to flip them over after you draw 2 untap 2. So basically, he functionally becomes an untap 2 leader because you're just replacing the 2 cards you put underneath him, and then you untap the 2. On the back side, he has 2 amazing abilities, both of which are attached to the colors that he is. The green effect is that you remove a card from underneath him to KO one of your opponent's battle cards and then make him discard a card at random. And then the yellow effect is that you remove a card from underneath him to make it so that your opponent's battle cards come in rest mode on their next turn. So this basically leads to a situation where if you're ahead, you're very ahead. And if you're behind, you can floodgate your opponent for 2 turns to keep yourself from dying. Now, the reason why I'm playing him, again, nostalgia, original cell chain. So we play 1 of the 3, 3 of the 5, and 3 of the 7. So if you don't know what this does, I don't blame you. This is from, again, set 2. But basically, this was deemed powerful enough that they put this card at 1 on the ban list. The 3 and the 5 have free Union Absorbs. 3 Union Absorbs are 17 from your hand to go into the 5. And the 5 Union Absorbs 18 from your hand to go into the 7. And they go into them from your deck. So 3 grabs a 5 from the deck and 5 drives a 7 from the deck. Now what's really cool about the 7, and the reason why he was so powerful, is that when you play him, your opponent discards cards until they only have 3 left in hand. So before it was pretty strong, now it's devastating. So many decks now get like 12, 13 cards in hand. Dropping them down to 3 from that is kind of abusive. So I understand why they limited it to 1. A lot of people go, oh, but what about all the counterplays? Well, that is becoming less and less of a real issue as we have better ways of handling unisons. The other thing that comes up is that a lot of the blue decks right now, which is like one of the main ones is the blue decks, are playing a lot of that Bojack engine. They're playing 4-drop unisons, things like that. So you don't really have to worry about God Sealing until, those turns. So if you can pull it out before then, you're good. Against the green decks, well, it is what it is. Like, you're just going to get smacked. And against red and yellow, you're not worried about it. To help to make sure we know where the 3-drop is at all times, we have the Dr. Gero Progenitor of Terror. So this super combo allows us to put a 4-drop or less battle card from our deck into the drop when we super combo with it. That then allows us to gain the information of where this is. So if we super combo, we look through our deck for a card and it's not in there, then we know it's in our life, and we have means of trying to get it from there. And if we do this and we see it in our deck, we have two options. And it all depends on whether or not this next card is in our hand, which is Dr. Mew Weapon Surplus. So if we open the Dr. Mew, or we saw it in the first top 5 search, we might want to hold on to it, because if we super combo this and we see that this is in the deck, we could put it into the drop, and then on that turn 2, play this, burst 3, and get it back to have it ready for turn 3. If it's not in the deck, if it's in the deck and we don't have the Dr. Mew, then we shuffle up after we drop a card into the drop that's going to get us a card, like a Saiyan Instincts. We top 5 search, hope to see it. If not, try to draw 2 cards with Saiyan Instincts and see it. And if not, then we have next turn to go give it another crack. So we mentioned the 17 and 18s involved. We're going to do that right now. 2 Titan Topplers. It's not that great of a card. It's cool, I just locking down something, but the main reason why we run it is that it's a yellow and it's an Android 17. So it helps with Awaken Surge, and it also helps with Arrival. Secondly, we have Android 17, Impending Crisis, our primary negate. A lot of these decks don't run a lot of negates. This guy right here is an amazing negate, because not only does he negate the attack, but he also puts a 4-drop or less card with Android in his name to the drop. So similarly, we could use this to gain information of where the cell is at. So if we don't have this, but we open this and we're going first, we could charge an energy, do our top 5 search, do our thing, and then negate just for the sake of it and see what's going on with this. The main thing we want to drop to the drop is our first Android 18. This right here is super cool because you can send it from the drop to the warp to get this back from the drop to your hand. So after you negate, you drop it, you could combo this off, and then on the following turn, activate this to get it back. We also run 18 in Krillin. 18 in Krillin is discard if you need it to be, and also one of the better defensive arrivals if you need it to be. So they're coming in with something with, double, triple, quad strike, and they put a whole bunch of combo on it. You could just combo, play this right here, and remove that strike skill from it. You could also remove barrier from something and then pop it with something else. That's something that comes up as well. Android 18 Bionic Blitz super combo pairs with the Jiro in his deck, and in her case, she rips a card out of the hand when you combo with it. She's also an 18, so push came to shove, underneath, go to the 7. And that's another backup play you can kind of have. Stall until you get to 5, play the 5 into the 7, strip the cards out their hand, and then do all the other stuff that you would do to get rid of the rest of the cards and win the game. So we talked about drop area synergy several times. One of our main ones is this Cell, the Dark Parasite. Allows us to draw a card and add a card from our life to our hand if it's in the drop area, and this is our leader. That way, we have a chance if it's in our life to hit it, as well as just see extra cards. Saiyan Instincts kind of goes without saying. If you have drop area synergies and you can afford to play it, you have it. You also have it as a yellow card for when you need to put it underneath the cell. And it's actually not a bad choice, because you can put it underneath the cell, do your awakening stuff, and then use the cell effect to floodgate or whatever, and then draw 2 cards. Big Rib, we all love her. We don't run 4 in this deck because we're trying to get them down to 3. So once you get them to 3, just hitting them for the last 2 and then 1 from a random source is usually good enough. Now the Arrival Engine, 4 copies of 14 and 15. Just a good card in general is usually the card that we want to charge first. If we're not going against anything too aggressive. And if we go against something aggressive, we want to hold in our hand to a rival, this guy right here. Basically, you want to do it on their last attack of the turn, play it, have your turn, and then pass it back to them and remove 2 cards from their board. And it happens every single turn, so it's actually a floodgate in and of itself. While it's in the drop area, you can pay 1, send it to the warp, pop a 3 or less. That comes up quite a bit as well, so keep that in mind. Rosie, our backup finishing plan. So if on turn 4 we play this, we could tap 3, go up the chain, put them down to 3 cards, Surge Awaken, play a Rosie, put them down to 1 card, sell effect, take all the cards away. Or even if you don't use sell effect, you would use the next card effect if you played it on 3, which is Raditz. So Raditz is what I'm using instead of the typical Dark Broly Unison. So they share a lot of similarities. He's a +1 instead of a +2, but he has a really good -5. So the +1 is that you pitch a card from your hand and make your opponent pitch a card from their hand. So it's already taxing once you go down to 3 for that to happen. But then he's able to give a card critical. It could be your leader card, it could be himself, it could be one of your battle cards, it doesn't matter. And that puts even more pressure on your opponent. If you did that play I mentioned, like on turn 4, play this, then make the Rosie. If this is already on the table, you could just pitch a card, take away the last card, give Rosie the triple, give Rosie the critical, and then she can hit for 3 unanswered damage, stripping all the cards away from them. Ultimate of choice, since Shenron. This guy right here is beastly in the deck. You could combo with him and then pay 1 at the end of the combo to put him into play. And he taps battle cards, unisons, and leader cards up to the number of energy that you have. So you could either like tap down a very large board or just deal with something that you don't want to handle. And then it itself is a blocker and it can block out of another situation. Extra cards, 2 cells are to Shrine. It's good whether your energy is mono green or not, but it's best if you're not mono green, but all green or not. It's best if it is all green because then it can strip a card at random. But push game to shove, 1 15k combo is nothing to sneeze at. 2 copies of Time Magic. Again, kind of trying to fill the yellow quota, but it's also meta relevant. If you look at all the set 13 boss monsters, most of them have multi-attack. Also, Cell Xeno is still a thing. If you saw the stream last week, you would have saw that. And just having the ability to lock down a battle card with multiple attacks just seems good enough right now for me. And then Artificial Impact is the last card. This bad boy outs barrier cards. They made a whole cycle of these for each of the colors, so it kind of just makes sense. It was between this and the yellow one, which is Justice Blast or something like that. But this one rips a card out their hand, so I went with it. So that is basically the deck. It's super fun to play, especially if you're able to get this whole chain off. And I hope to have gameplay video for that. I'm also going to be doing an interview with top 16 finisher from the Core TCG event, who played a very interesting deck. And so that way I'll be able to go over that and possibly get a game with this deck versus that deck. So that is it for this video. Again, catch me on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I play in the weekly Stage 0 circuit. And you'll be able to see me play this deck, hopefully, and be successful.